Now that your background is completed, we've got to figure out what we're going to put on our section 3s. I have chosen frogs and snails and provided those to you, but we can talk about some other elements as well. Okay, so as you can see, I have made 5 frogs per each section, 5 different little frogs, and those patterns are provided to you. But if you don't want to do frogs, what you could do is you could find a coloring book that would give you some design options. These are from Dover. Everything from Dover is copyright free, so you are welcome to draw or trace from any of these. You can enlarge or shrink the patterns as needed. The other thing you can do is find a fabric that's got motifs that you like. Like this one, I've cut out some bees, or you could even just put flowers. Let's say you don't even want very many animals, you could just do flowers. You've got hummingbirds. These all have been fused with this great product called Appli-Stick. I just cut a little square of this and pressed it to the back of my fabric, and then cut cut around it, just a general cut, and then once I had a little piece of that fabric separate, I just really came in here with my Karen K. Buckley serrated scissors, which are amazing for getting this detail work. And as you can see, you can just put these anywhere, and you don't even have to stick with one kind of creature. Everybody likes to get along in our zoo, so we could put all kinds of different things on there. A little hummingbird, a frog. Just play and see what speaks to you. One thing I do recommend though, when you finally get a setup that you think that you're gonna like, is make sure you take a picture of it or put it on your design wall and stand back and make sure that you like the arrangement of the creatures that you put on your background. Okay, so if you decide to use the patterns that I provided with the frogs, or if you designed and traced or drew your own, what you're going to do is print or trace your chosen motif onto Transfer Ease. Transfer Ease is a stabilizer that's got a paper back so it can run through an inkjet printer, and it's a cloth-like material that's got a sticky background, so you can just stick it to whatever it is that you're stitching. In this case, I've stuck it onto my thread painting setup, which is the aqua film, a layer of tulle over it, and then I just put the Transfer Ease right on top of that. I did stitch around it just because the Transfer Ease doesn't stick really great with all the holes of the tulle, but if you wanted to look at a great lesson on thread painting, look to Charlotte Hickman's show here on the Quilt Show, and her setup is a little different. She uses sulky stabilizer, and she has an extra piece of sulky on the top. In this case, I didn't do that because this Transfer Ease acts as an additional stabilizer. And then you're just going to thread paint those how you would normally do that. And again, just look to some of the Quilt Show shows we'll list at the end, some other references that you could look at for thread painting. And then what you'll end up with, once you've thread painted and cut that out and washed it away as per the instructions on your product, you'll have this little frog, and you can just cut away that extra tulle with real sharp little scissors, and then bring your background in and just place him down. All right, and then how I did it is I just glued, once I was happy with the placement of all of my little creatures, I glued him down, and then I took a monofilament thread and I just zigzagged around him just to hold him in place. And I did that with all of those. All right, so next we're going to talk about the snail. Okay, so the snail is done almost the same way, except for this time I did it but with hand embroidery rather than with machine embroidery. So the Transfer Ease, I've included that on the same page, the second page of the little frogs, and he'll get printed right together with those frogs. So you'll just cut him out and then stick him onto wool felt. I just use wool felt because I really like the way that it feels when I'm embroidering, and the Transfer Ease sticks really great on cotton, but it doesn't stick super great on the wool felt. So I just ran a basting stitch around that just to hold it in place while I stitched. And then you're going to take various embroidery flosses. Here you can see I did a multicolor floss, and I just did a satin stitch. You can use any stitch that you want to really to complete this, and I just started here at the shell, and you would stitch right on top of this drawing, and it doesn't fade and it doesn't erase as much as you handle it, so it's a really great product. Once your embroidery is done, you're just going to cut around the snail and soak it for just a little bit just to get that extra product off there. It's a wash away stabilizer, and then you're going to hand stitch it to where he wants to live on your background. All right, and so that once that's done, we'll come back and we will show you how to join these sections with sashing. Okay, so now your section 3s are completed, and we're going to join it to the main piece, this time with sashing. So to set that up, you're going to set your new section aside for just a minute, and we've got to attach the sashing to the front and the back of the main piece. So you're going to take your folded piece of sashing, your trim as per your pattern, and put the raw edges on the top of the side that you're joining onto the main piece. You're going to match up those raw edges. And underneath, you're going to take the 1-inch sashing piece, not folded. You're just going to lay it out flat, right side up on the bottom. So you've got the sashing right side up, right sides together with the back of the quilt. You've got the folded sashing, all raw edges are matching. You're going to pin this in place, and you're going to stitch it with a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to do that, and I'll be back to show you how to add the section onto the main piece. Okay, so now that I've got my sashing pieces sewn on, you can see on the front that I've got the folded section that's just sort of flapping here. We're going to leave that alone for a minute and turn the whole piece over to the back. Once you've pressed this away from the back of the quilt, we can now join on the section. So first thing you want to do is make sure that both sides are facing right side up, the same direction, so you don't sew this on upside down. And we're just going to place this on top of here, and then we're going to sew this free edge, match up the raw edges, pin it to the entire 3 layers of section 3, pin it all the way down, sew it with a 1/4 inch seam with your walking foot. I'm going to sew that and come back and show you what to do on the front with this piece of sashing here. Okay, so now that you've got the section stitched onto the back sashing, that's all finished on the back. There's nothing else that needs to be done. But what you do want to do is press the seam that you have just sewn, just so everything lays nice and flat. Then this is already folded, and you're just going to pin this in place and hand applique it along that fold and along that seam line. If you find a place, like right up in here, it just got a little bulky, maybe because I have an extra seam right there, it is okay to just take your scissors, kind of bend this back, and just snip off. Just be real careful that you're not snipping the main part of your quilt, your front of your quilt. Snip that off so that lays nice and flat. And you're just going to hand applique that down. You're going to repeat that whole process for the other side. And that is it for sections 3. Your quilt is getting bigger. Congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us. Next time, we're going fishing.